Hello there, my name is Abby and I am a postgraduate student here at the University of Glasgow. Now today I'm going to be talking to you guys about my must-have, cannot live without items that I have to have either on campus with me or in my day-to-day life here while living in Scotland. I'm going to go ahead and split these into categories, not that I have like a lot to tell or show you, just for the sake of being organized, we're going to go ahead and do that. The very first category is going to be clothing, and then the second category is going to be like accessories slash miscellaneous items. All right, so starting off with the hot topic of all, we are going to be discussing jackets. All right, so I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Get close, get real close, get close. Oh, no, too close. So the secret is Scotland is not as rainy and cold always as you think. Now, if you're someone like me, I grew up in the States. I have been kind of everywhere. I started off in South Dakota, and then I moved to Texas, desert land, and then for my undergrad, southern Georgia, right next to the beach. I have experienced weather of all sorts. And so when I moved to Scotland, it was no surprise to me that what's to be expected is that there's going to be a lot more rainy days than usual. I mean, it's kind of known. Since moving to Scotland, I've honestly experienced all different types of weather. I've experienced rain, I've experienced snow, I've actually experienced sun and warm, nice weather already. What? And no one was telling me these things whenever I was moving over. He knew that there weren't anything else but rainy days. And like I said before, it's just not true. We have a lot of different weather going on. So now that we've got that out of the way, I'm going to break down the different types of clothing that I wear throughout the week. First up, you guessed it, we've got jackets. Whenever I first came here, I had thrifted my jackets from Goodwill back in the States, and then I slowly expanded my wardrobe once I understood what kind of jacket I needed. My biggest lesson learned here was that because of the varying weathers, you're also going to need different types of jackets for all scenarios, okay? So my top favorite one, and I will say that you need a jacket that is like a middle ground. Lightweight, but it's still durable enough that it's going to keep you warm in colder weather. There's a great shield of protection here. Now this jacket right here is also waterproof, and I'm going to get into the difference between waterproof and water resistant in just a second. My next jacket is actually one that I bought like straight away whenever I moved here, and I realized that I did not need a like thick marshmallow puff man jacket for every single outing. I was actually hot and like sweating underneath all my stuff. It's actually a pretty decent like rain jacket. I would label this more as water resistant comparative to waterproof. Now that I've got that out of the way, waterproof and water resistant, what are the difference between the two? Waterproof is going to be, it's going to repel all of the water off, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I don't know my fruits.
Just pelting water off of, okay? Not actually. You get what I mean. You're not going to get soaked at any point usually while you're wearing waterproof items. Water resistant is where you're going to get wet at some point. If you're in a light drizzle here in Scotland, you're fine with water resistant for the most part, unless you're like in the middle of Isle of Skye like I was, and you're running down, the wind is blowing all of the rain sideways and you're getting pelted with little tiny knives coming at you. I digress though. Water resistant is going to keep you dry for a decent amount of time, unless you're like walking from city center back into the West End where over by the university is, or you've got just a long haul in general. You're going to get wet at some point, most likely. It's still better than having nothing that is water resistant at all. Now that we've got that over, we're moving on to our next clothing item, and that is footwear. And as we have established before, it does rain here, it has sun, but you're going to at one point need proper footwear. As someone who only drove, didn't even expect for it to be a huge transition for me to switch from driving everywhere to walking everywhere and actually understanding what proper footwear is. So I'm going to start off with like one of the ones that I travel with the most while I'm doing a bunch of adventures here. And these are my hiking slash walking boots. I picked these up at Mountain Warehouse. If you're a student, they also give a discount and they are super helpful. I use these for all my trips. These are coming with me on all my backpacking trips, my hiking trips up to the Highlands of Scotland, even sometimes to just Edinburgh. If I'm going to be walking around a lot that day and I'm going to be traveling in general, I'm probably wearing these babies because these are the most comfortable, they're the most durable, waterproof, and they have the best grip. It's honestly really important to, you know, have at least one good proper jacket whenever you move here, and then also one good pair of hiking boots. You don't need multiples of things. It's nice to have, but at least if you've got one good pair that matches with everything as well, you're good to go. My second pair of boots that I suggest are also just more so water resistant. These are kind of like what I would call duck boots. I wore these to the Isle of Skye. They're actually from back home. Now, going back to these ones, I want to point out about having boots like this is that they're usually waterproof if you find them in the right place. And also, they really keep your feet warm. There is a tale of me going to the Edinburgh Christmas market and freezing my toes off almost because I was not wearing the proper footwear. You really want to make sure that all your little piggies are covered and taken care of. All right, so the last thing that I want to talk about in regards to clothing is going to be layering. Whenever I say layering, I mainly mean some sort of jacket on top, maybe a scarf slash hat included, a sweater, and maybe a very thin long sleeve or a t-shirt underneath. That may seem like a lot to you, but if you're coming during the fall to slash winter months, of course it's going to be a lot colder. But as we move into the spring slash summer, you're going to have, again, variations of weather. If I have not mentioned this so many times throughout this video, there have been times where I have gone out with a jacket, a sweater, and a t-shirt underneath, and I have gone down all the way to my t-shirt because I just get so hot. And that may sound very unbelievable, but it has happened. Back in March, there were about 2 weeks of just continuous sunny days, beautiful weather. Like I'm talking like 15 to 17 degrees Celsius, maybe even up towards like the 19, and it was super nice and sunny. During those 2 weeks, I kept on being gaslit by the Scottish weather because I was so convinced that it was going to be cold whenever I walked out. It was nice and warm, and I was like, what is going on? Layering doesn't always just have to be your upper part of your body, like the sweaters and long sleeve. Wearing some layers underneath your jeans and socks. For instance, whenever I went on a backpacking trip through England during the winter months, I would wear jeans and a very thin fleece. As such, these leggings, they're not super thick. As I said, you want them to be more thin, but they have just like a very nice fuzzy coating on the inside. It keeps you really warm. And I know I've already kind of touched on footwear, but since we are on the topic of layering, let me tell you, it is so important as well to have the proper socks. These are thin thermal socks that I have picked up from stores here in Glasgow. Then also a very thick pair of thermal socks. Now, this is also important as to why you need to buy your boots just a little bit bigger than your normal size, because these socks, they're very thick. Now, moving on into accessories, my very first must-have, cannot live without item as far as accessories go, the umbrella. This may seem the most simplest, but it is going to become your staple in life. I and other creators that you watch on here personally do not leave our house without an umbrella. If you're out here walking the streets of Glasgow without an umbrella, it is comparative to a Jedi without his lightsaber. What are you doing? There is something missing here, okay? You need your umbrella, take it with you. Having a sturdy and good quality umbrella is very important because of the wind here. Now, if you have like something that's like very like cheap and nonchalant, it's going to possibly break or just like not be able to withhold the wind. You're going to be holding your umbrella kind of like this towards the wind rather than over your head. Portable charger and a converter. Now, I am the person in my friend group who is notorious for always having a dead phone. That is because majority of the first couple of months that I lived here in Glasgow and in Scotland while traveling, I just did not invest in a portable charger, but this year I did. I said 2022 was not begging all my friends for some sort of charger. I needed to be responsible. And also I always carry around a converter because all of my plugs are American. So if you're an international student, having one for your country or one that works for all around the world, there are converters like that, and having multiple of them as well. I actually carry around 2 converters in my backpack now because, again, I am always having some sort of electronic die. Sometimes whenever I am on campus studying, there are not any outlets nearby that are in use because it does sometimes get a little bit busier than usual during exam week. The next accessory that I find important, I see not only myself but other students having on them at all times, is a foldable backpack and a reusable bag of some sort. I think these foldable backpacks are great because not only can you have them on you just at all times for random use if you need some extra things to bring to campus, or if you're going to the city center and you're going shopping, but also for trips. Whenever I'm traveling around Scotland or even just the UK in general, I'm even gone to Sicily recently, I brought this with me and it was amazing to have because not only did I just get to fit it in one of my jacket pockets whenever I was walking around, but if I wanted to buy some items or trinkets or just not carry around a water bottle, I would just take this out. So this next item is going to seem completely random, but I promise you're gonna thank me once I tell you what it is. A frozen pizza. Every student must have in their freezer at all times an emergency pizza. This one I kind of already knew back whenever I was doing undergrad. If you do not have one of these on hand in your freezer at one time, you are living an unhinged life, honestly. Let me give you a scenario. It is 2 a.m. You have stayed up all night trying to finish a 3,500 word essay. It's just not flowing out of you, but you are starving. You need food to fuel your brain, but nothing is open and your cupboards are empty. You scuttle over to your freezer and then you open up the drawer. Oh, angels come singing down because you have a frozen emergency pizza on hand, and now you are able to bang out that essay the rest of the night because Abby told you that you needed it and now you had it and it worked. I know from experience. I have done both undergrad and now postgraduate. I am a scholar when it comes to frozen pizzas. It is now time for my final accessory, and not only my final accessory, but my final item overall. So this accessory item may seem a little bit more random, but I promise it has a whole entire story behind it. All right, so the kettle. Oops, I had it backwards. Now, again, it might seem a little bit more random, just kind of like the pizza situation. If you thought that you were coming to Scotland and you were not going to be a tea person, you thought wrong. I consider myself not a tea person before moving to Scotland, but whenever I did come here and I started using this kettle, this has absolutely become a staple in my morning routine for everything. You can also use it for coffee and sometimes even noodles. Friends of mine actually use this for noodles as well. They just pour it in their cup and then call it a day. My university housing gave us this kettle for all of my flatmates to share, but if you are in private accommodation or just a private flat in general, please go and pick one up. You will thank me later if you have one of these, and yes, it will become part of your daily routine as well. I hope this video was helpful in some form or fashion, and maybe that you're able to add some items on that you didn't know you need. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching this video, and until next time.